Hey, I'm Marco.
And I'm Jenna, and this is Live
and Learn. So today, we want to talk a little bit about our goals for 2024. Going into a new year is always a good time to reassess and reevaluate those things, and we wanted to talk about how we set those goals this year and how it was a little bit different from what we've done in the past.
Last year, we kind of created this wellness wheel where we had a bunch of different categories that outline different things in our lives, and then we put a few goals per category. So honestly, in the end, I think we had like 16 to 20 goals each. And I don't remember our original intention with that, if we were going to like pick one to work on throughout the year and then like switch it every time or what. I don't know. It didn't work. It was just so much, and it just didn't. It was overwhelming, so it didn't really stick to that long term.
Yeah, it did get to be a lot pretty quick, and I mean, we had good intentions and we wanted to cover all our bases, so we did set multiple goals for a lot of different categories, which are things that we still do want to work on, but doing it that way just didn't work out. It was kind of just too much. It wasn't really focused. We set a lot of goals, but we didn't necessarily make those plans to reach all those goals.
Yeah.
And so, as life picks up, if that's not something that you're focused on, but more kind of in the background, it kind of just gets left behind. And so that's what ended up happening to us. We would periodically revisit these things and talk about what our goals were, but it kind of just started getting left behind, and we ended up doing hardly anything on that, if anything.
Yeah, it really didn't work too well. So then when we were planning for 2024, I was really trying to be more prayerful about it. I was trying to make sure whatever we did last year was not going to happen again this year. And so the word that came to my mind as like a theme was simplicity. And just keeping everything simple and minimal to simplify our lives. And so going into this year, I only picked 2 goals, and then we made 2 or 3, and then we made sure to make a plan on how to implement it and stick with it. And then I also let it bleed into other aspects of our lives, so it wasn't just our goals that were simple, but in general, like, we're simplifying our whole lives. Since we're moving and we're finishing school, we don't really know where we're going. And so being a senior is hard. We're tired. So we don't have, just trying to simplify, what we're doing for meal plans and meal prepping and simplifying all the stuff that we have in the house and as we get ready to move and keeping our plans very simple and just inviting that peace and calm and lack of noise, I guess, into our lives. And so far I think it's been working pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. So we're going to be, bigger things is we're going to be graduating this year, and we're going to be moving a couple times as we both do our internships that'll be in different places.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of had to just keep it simple. If we get into something overly complicated, it's just going to make everything more stressful, considering the big changes we're already going to have to make.
Yeah.
And so keeping it simple just helps you to adapt and be flexible to those big changes that are going to be going on. And it's been maybe not everything, but I'd say it's been working pretty well.
I think it's been working well. And so one of these things that we're doing differently this year is we kind of took it from some previous years. When we were missionaries, we would set goals and had 6 weeks to work on something, and you'd be reassessing every single week, and then at the end of 6 weeks you'd start again. And our year was broken into basically these 6-week chunks. So we decided to kind of try and do that again. Maybe not necessarily 6 weeks chunks, but
smaller pieces versus annual goals.
Yeah, and that way, and we reassess every single week to see how we're doing, and we just kind of go from there. And so Marco was telling me about this book. I guess you can go ahead and share that.
Yeah, so a couple years ago for one of my classes, I had to read a book called The 12-Week Year. And it's actually a pretty good book. And the main point that this book is trying to get across, it's trying to get you to to change your mindset, kind of to readjust your thinking when you're goal setting, and so that you think of it as a year instead of a year being 12 months. In the book it says now a year is 12 weeks. And the reason for doing that is, as it explains in the book, having a shorter timeline and a defined time frame, so say 12 weeks, is creates a sense of urgency, as opposed to setting yearly goals and then waiting until the end of the year to reassess or evaluate how well your year went in terms of that specific goal. So, for example, in the book, one of the things he talks about is when we set yearly goals, we tend to, if it so happens that we blow off the first couple of days or the first couple of weeks or the first month, what happens is we tend to rationalize and say, well, yeah, it wasn't a great month, but I have 11 more months to reach this goal, so I'm still good. And I know
you don't start your goal until November.
And I know that happens. I've seen that happen. And it does. It's just it's just always in the back of your mind, well, I have time. I have time to do it later. Mm-hmm. And if your time frame is a year, yeah, you have a lot of time. You probably can blow a couple of days off and in the grand scheme of things still be okay at the end of the year. But when you think of it as a 12-week instead of 12-month, you just don't have, you have a little bit of wiggle room, but you do not have a lot of room for error. If you blow off the first week, you've only got 11 more weeks, a few months, not 11 months. And so having that sense of urgency really just is the biggest thing, is the biggest driving motivator into to be able to accomplish a goal. And I think that's mainly what the book is about. And so he talks about how to do it and how to set your goals and make those plans. And it's just been pretty helpful as we thought about these simple goals that we set and how we're going to achieve them and what our checkpoints are going to be and stuff like that.
Yeah. And we haven't finished the book, but it's pretty interesting to see. There are times where I'm kind of confused where, like, are they talking about 12 weeks in normal people terms or 12 weeks in whatever terms they're trying to. I feel like they jump back and forth and
a little bit, yeah.
I don't know. It's a little confusing at times, but I'm hoping that as we finish the book, it kind of can clarify and I don't know, resolve any of those questions that I have. And I don't know if I'm not necessarily changing my mindset to be in 12-week terms, but I like the concept of breaking the year into smaller, more manageable bits. And having explicit plans and trying to work towards those things, because then you're more likely to get things done. There's actually a quote I really like. Life isn't driven by the you who settles or gives into procrastination or doubt, but the optimal you, the best you, the confident you, and the healthy you. The you who shows up with the best stuff, makes things happen, making a difference, and living a life of significance. And I really like that quote because I don't know, more in the context of the book, it's just, it's hard to show up for yourself if you're not putting forth your best. But when you're doing your best and you're showing the effort and you're being motivated to improve yourself, sticking to your goals and the plans that you set, it just builds a better version of you. And that's an amazing thing to continue to grow yourself and grow with somebody and to find more of a purpose in your life. And that's, for me, I've never been a big fan of goals. I never really saw the purpose of them. But having this perspective towards goals and showing that I am important and I can accomplish great things and we can do it together, for me, that's one of the best ways to live my life and gives me more of a sense of purpose. So
It definitely does. And I think I'm the other way. I've kind of always tried to set goals for, all different areas of my life. And to me, there's just, it just feels good. There's a sense of achievement and accomplishment, even when it's something a little smaller, a little shorter term, but that, something that you want to work on, or something that you want to attain. When it's something that you've been working towards, it feels good. It feels good, and it's rewarding to be able to say, I did this. It doesn't have to be some grand thing, but whatever it is that you're working towards, once you accomplish it, once you achieve it, it feels nice, and you're working on an improvement, right? And so I just think goals are really helpful and really important to have to make sure that you keep moving forward. One of my favorite things that the book teaches is about knowledge. It says, knowledge is only powerful if you use it. And then he goes on talking about it. He says, it's not a knowledge problem, it's an execution problem. So that second part, he's talking about when people don't reach their goals. It's not a knowledge problem. It's not that people don't know what they need to do most of the time. It's an execution problem. People know what they're supposed to do, but they just don't do it. So specifically in the book, he uses the example of weight loss and about how high of a percentage of Americans are overweight. And the way to combat that, we know what it is. You can ask most anybody and they'll give you similar answers. It has to do with your
diet and exercise,
with your dietary habits and your exercise habits, and other things play a part in it, but for the most part those are the two biggest things, right? That's about half and half of what makes up that whole is diet and exercise. And so most people know that, and they know the things that they should eat and shouldn't eat. And you ask anybody, they know that exercising is good for you. It's good for your body. But people just don't do it. So it's not a knowledge problem. It's not like there's secrets about how to do certain things and
to succeed.
There's no secrets to success in this specific example. You have to put in the work. You have to be willing to make a few sacrifices and put in the work, really, more than anything. And so when he talks about in the book not reaching your goals, it's typically not a knowledge problem. You know how to do it. It's an execution problem. And so this book helps you to be able to change your mindset, not just your behaviors. Because if you're changing your behaviors, then that's a good thing. It is good. I won't discount it. So changing your behavior is a good thing, but you leave yourself kind of open, I guess, to slipping back into whatever those habits are, because it's what you want to be doing. And so the book tries to help in explaining how to and why you want to change your mindset, not just change your behavior. If you change your mindset, you're going to be able to look at things differently and not slip back into those habits that are keeping you from reaching those goals. And so that's one of my favorite things about the book, for sure, is execution. How to get good at that. How to change your mindset, not just your behavior.
Yeah. I like that quote too. There are times when it's easier said than done, or sometimes it definitely is laziness, and that's an execution problem. Sometimes there are external factors that tie into things to make it more challenging, but I think for me that's where prayer comes in, is to just keep myself motivated and keep working on things like that, because there are going to be those challenges that are thrown in our way, and it's very frustrating, and it's not as black and white as we like to think it is. But anyway, one final quote that I really like, it says, to realize your potential, you must be more mindful of how you spend your time, live with clear intentions. It requires you to organize your life around your priorities and consciously choose activities that align with your goal and your visions. And this is just such a good quote, where it clearly just spells it out. The more mindful you are of your life, how you're spending your time, where you're putting your energy and your attention and your focus, it matters. And so if I really care about myself and making sure that these goals that I have set are going to actually happen, then I need to make sure I'm spending more time and making it more of a priority. And just as long as you're continually working towards something, you'll see progress and improvement, and it'll be exciting. So We got this.
So that's just something that we have found works pretty well for us. But obviously there's more than one way to... There's many paths, whatever your goal is. There's a lot of different paths you can follow to get there. But the important thing is to lay out that plan, is to pick that path.
Yeah.
If you're setting goals and kind of just, leaving it to see what happens. I read somewhere one time that goals without plans are just pipe dreams. Something that you're hoping is going to happen, and you're kind of just like, oh, well, we'll see. This would be nice. Hey, we'll see what happens. Yeah. It could. It probably won't, because why would it if you're not working towards it? So whatever it is your goals are, pick a path. Create a path for yourself that you can follow so that you can reach those goals.
Yeah. To sum up, plan out your goals. Choose your goals, make a plan, and then follow up with yourself. Have some accountability. Mm-hmm. There's another quote that I really like about accountability, actually, and it says, accountability is not consequences, it's ownership. So taking accountability for what your goals and your plans are, following up with yourself or with your significant other or a friend. Something that we do is we meet every week. We have a family correlation meeting, and we meet and we discuss our goals and track our progress, and we make those changes. So choose your goals, make a plan, have accountability, and adjust it as needed. It's really that simple. And then just having the consistency. And once you do those things, hopefully you see progress. Hopefully we see progress.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part, is the consistency part. Once everything else is set, now you just got to stick to it. But
that's the biggest thing for sure. Consistency. Yeah. Stick to it. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway. Thank you so much for watching. We have another episode coming out that will talk more about those correlation meetings that we mentioned, and so keep your eye out for that, and I guess we'll see you next time. Bye.